Who got you this necklace? Seok Jungo's voice cut through the silence of his San Francisco penthouse office like a blade through silk. And I realized that the man known as the Silent King, the exiled Korean Mafia heir who controlled empires from the shadows, wasn't asking his assistant a simple question. The way his tattooed hands trembled while gripping the edge of my desk, the way his dark eyes fixed on the diamond choker glittering against my throat, told me Seoul's most dangerous man was about to lose control over a piece of jewelry meant for someone else. Or so he thought. Welcome back, my fierce hearts and midnight dreamers. Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, and tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing our little dark romance family stretch across cities, countries, and time zones. Every click, every comment, every bit of love you leave here helps us keep unraveling these dangerous love stories and high-stakes betrayals together. So find your quiet place, dim the lights, and get ready. Let's begin. Anna Phillip was admiring the necklace in her reflection when she felt his eyes on her. The choker was stunning. Black diamonds set in white gold, the kind of piece that belonged in a vault, not on the desk of an executive assistant. It had arrived 30 minutes ago in a black velvet box with no card, no signature, just a date engraved on the clasp's interior. The 3rd of October 2023. Her first day at Seok Tech, she'd assumed it was from him. An anniversary gift for 2 years of managing his empire, of being the only person who could anticipate his needs before he voiced them, of ignoring the blood she sometimes found on his knuckles Monday mornings. Jungo wasn't sentimental, but he noticed things. The exact temperature she preferred her office, the specific pen she used for notes, the way she took her coffee even though she never drank it in front of him. This necklace felt like acknowledgement, like being seen. She fastened the clasp with careful fingers, feeling the cool weight settle against her collarbone. The diamonds caught the San Francisco fog light filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows, throwing fractured rainbows across her desk. Behind her, the city sprawled indifferent and glittering. A kingdom Jungo ruled from the shadows. Anna adjusted the collar of her cream silk blouse, tucking it just so beneath the necklace. Professional. Perfect. The way everything in Seok Jungo's world had to be. That's when his office door opened. She looked up, her smile already forming, and felt it die on her lips. Jungo stood in the doorway like a man witnessing a murder. He was dressed in one of his impeccable suits, black today, tailored with the precision of a threat. At 34, he had the kind of face that belonged in Renaissance paintings. Sharp jawline, eyes so dark they absorbed light, features that would have been beautiful if they weren't so carefully weaponized. His black hair was pushed back, still damp from whatever he'd been doing before arriving at the office. She never asked. That was rule 1, but right now, those carefully controlled features had cracked. His eyes locked onto her throat. Not her face, her throat. Mr. Seok? Anna's voice came out steadier than her heartbeat. Did you need something? He didn't answer. He moved toward her desk with the kind of silent, deliberate grace she'd seen in Predators. Each step measured, purposeful, inevitable. The tattoos she knew covered his chest and arms were hidden beneath the suit, but she could see the dragon's tail that crept above his collar, the ink seeming to writhe with each breath he took. When he reached her desk, he stopped. His hands, those elegant, dangerous hands, gripped the edge of her workspace so tightly she heard the wood creak. His eyes were still fixed on the necklace. Who got you that? His voice was soft, lethally soft, the tone he used right before someone disappeared from the company, from the city, from existence. Anna's pulse kicked against the diamonds. I'm sorry? The necklace. He didn't blink, didn't move. Everything about Seok Jungo was precision and control. But right now, she could see cracks in the armor. Who gave it to you? Heat crept up her neck, mixing with something that felt dangerously like fear. This was none of his business. Her personal life was supposed to be separate, completely separate. That was rule 3. The rule that kept her sane in this beautiful, dangerous orbit around a man who made billion-dollar deals in boardrooms and erased problems in basements, I thought. She hesitated, searching his face for some clue to his rage. I thought it was from you. Something shifted behind his eyes. Not relief. Something worse. Something that looked like terror. You thought. He cut himself off, his jaw working. Then, before she could stop him, his hand shot out, his fingers closed around the necklace. "Mr. Seok, don't," he yanked. The choker didn't break. Instead, a sound filled the office. A soft electronic beep, followed by the whisper of machinery activating. A tiny LED on the clasp flared red. Jungo froze, his fingers still touching her skin, his face draining of color in a way she'd never seen. She'd watched this man stare down armed rivals without flinching. She'd seen him negotiate hostile takeovers with a smile. She had never seen him afraid. "Don't move," he whispered, his thumb pressing against her pulse point, feeling her heartbeat thunder against the diamonds. "Anna, don't move." The beeping continued, soft, rhythmic, patient, like a countdown. Anna Phillip had 3 rules for surviving Seok Jungo. She was about to learn that rules only worked when both people were playing the same game. And Jungo had been playing a different game entirely. One where she'd been a target long before she'd ever walked into his world. The beeping stopped. Jungo's hand remained frozen against her throat. His thumb pressed to her pulse point with a tenderness that contradicted the violence in his eyes. Anna could feel the warmth of his skin bleeding through the cold metal of the diamonds. Could smell the rain and ozone that clung to him like a second skin. The scent that always meant he'd been somewhere she wasn't supposed to ask about. Step back from the desk. His voice was empty, void. The voice he used when bodies needed to disappear. Slowly. "Don't touch the necklace again." Anna's legs trembled as she stood, her cream blouse suddenly feeling too thin, too exposed. The diamonds sat heavy against her collarbone, their weight now suffocating rather than elegant. "Jungo, what's happening?" He didn't answer. Instead, he moved to his office door and pressed something on his phone. Within seconds, the glass walls of the executive suite darkened, smart glass shifting from transparent to opaque black. The San Francisco skyline vanished, replaced by isolation. The elevator dinged. 3 men emerged, moving with the kind of coordinated silence that spoke of military training and worse. Anna recognized them. The ones who came in the black SUVs, the ones who called Jungo Hyungnium instead of Mr. Seok, the ones whose suits couldn't quite hide the bulk of concealed weapons. Rule 1. Never ask questions about the men in black SUVs. She'd just broken Rule 1 by existing in the same space as them during daylight hours. "Lock it down," Jungo said, without looking at them. "No one in or out. Pull the surveillance footage from the last 72 hours. I want to know every person who came within 50 feet of this floor, every delivery, every goddamn breath taken near this office." The average person in San Francisco was captured on camera roughly 70 times a day. Anna had read that statistic once, thinking it was invasive. Now she understood. Jungo's paranoia wasn't madness. It was survival mathematics in a city where 31% of the wealth belonged to 1% of the population, and that 1% played by different rules, bloodier rules. One of the men, she thought his name was Dae-jung, moved toward her. Jungo's hand shot out, stopping him mid-step. "Don't touch her." The command was soft, lethal. No one touches her. The possessiveness in those words made Anna's breath catch. This wasn't about employee safety. This was something else entirely. Something that had been building in the space between professional distance and the way he sometimes looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. Jungo turned to her, his dark eyes scanning her face with an intensity that felt physical. "Where have you been in the last 48 hours? "What?" "Every location. Every person you spoke to. Every second accounted for." He moved closer, backing her against the glass wall until she could feel the cool surface through her blouse. His hand came up, bracing beside her head, caging her in. "Who gave you that necklace, Anna?" Her name. He never used her first name. It was always Miss Phillip, always maintaining that careful distance. Hearing it now, rough and desperate on his lips, sent electricity down her spine. "I told you. I thought it was from you." Her voice came out steadier than her pulse. The date on the clasp. October 3rd, 2023. My first day here. Who else would know that? Something flickered across his face. Pain. No. Terror. Raw, unfiltered terror that he couldn't quite mask fast enough. "Show me." His fingers found the clasp at the back of her neck, and Anna felt his touch like a brand. He was careful, so careful, his calloused fingertips grazing her skin as he turned the necklace slightly to examine the engraving. She could feel his breath against her ear, could feel the way his hand trembled. This man who never trembled, who stared down armed rivals without blinking. October 3rd, he whispered, and it sounded like a prayer. Like a curse. He knew. The bastard knew. Who knew? Jungo, you're scaring me. He pulled back just enough to look at her, his face so close she could count the shades of black in his eyes. Your schedule, Monday through Sunday, every appointment, every coffee shop, every route you take home, tell me. So she did. She listed her mundane existence. The same coffee shop on Bryant Street every morning at 7:45, the same desk from 8 to 6, the same apartment in the Tenderloin that ate half her salary despite being barely 600 square feet. She told him about yoga on Wednesdays, about her standing video call with her mother on Sunday evenings, about the grocery run she did every Saturday morning. She watched his jaw tighten with each detail, watched the muscle in his cheek jump as he processed her vulnerability. Anna lived in the reality of rent and logistics. Jungo lived in a world where money was a weapon, where her entire yearly salary was probably what he spent on a single suit. No one knew? He pressed. No deliveries? No strangers approaching you? No. Nothing. I would have noticed. You wouldn't have. He said it with such certainty that it felt like an insult. You're brilliant with data, with patterns in spreadsheets and contracts. But you don't see predators, Anna. You don't know what to look for. She felt her temper flare, cutting through the fear. Then enlighten me. Tell me what the hell is going on. Tell me why you're looking at this necklace like it's a death sentence. Because it is. The words hung in the air between them, heavy and final. Jungo stepped back, running a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration she'd never seen from him. His careful control was cracking, pieces of the facade falling away to reveal something darker underneath, something that looked like barely contained violence. Who are you seeing? The question came out rough. Boyfriend? Lover? Someone who thinks they can claim what's mine? Anna's eyes widened. I'm not seeing anyone. I haven't... She stopped, heat flooding her cheeks. She hadn't dated anyone since taking this job, hadn't had time, hadn't had interest. Because every man she met paled in comparison to the one standing in front of her, the one who was technically her employer, the one she absolutely should not be thinking about the way she did in the quiet hours of the night. Then who sent it? His voice dropped to something dangerous, something that made her pulse spike for entirely different reasons. Who thinks they have the right to put jewelry on your throat? To mark you? I told you. I thought you. I didn't send it. He moved back into her space, his hand coming up to hover over the diamonds without quite touching them. I would never send you something like this. Why not? The question escaped before she could stop it. His eyes met hers, and the heat in them made her breath stutter. Because when I finally put my mark on you, Anna, it won't be a gift you can take off. The implication hung between them, charged and dangerous. The professional boundaries they'd maintained for 2 years had just evaporated, burned away by the intensity of his gaze and the promise in his words. Before she could respond, his hand moved, not to touch her, but to grip the necklace with clear intent to rip it free. Don't! Anna grabbed his wrist. Jungo, don't! The beeping. Too late. He yanked. The necklace didn't break. Instead, that soft electronic beep returned, louder now, insistent. The LED on the clasp flared from red to a pulsing amber, and Anna felt something shift in the mechanism, a subtle click of machinery engaging against her skin. Jungo froze, his hand still gripping the necklace, his knuckles white with strain. She could see his pulse hammering in his throat, could see the dragon tattoo on his neck seem to writhe with each frantic heartbeat. Get Kenji, he said to the men behind him, his voice deadly calm despite the terror in his eyes. Get him here now. And find out who delivered this package. I want names, addresses, surveillance footage from every camera within a mile radius of this building. Hyungnim. Now. The men scattered. The door clicked shut behind them, leaving Anna alone with Jungo and the beeping device wrapped around her throat like a promise of death. His hand was still frozen on the necklace, still touching her. She could feel each of his fingers pressed against her skin, could feel the tremor running through him that he couldn't quite control. Anna. Her name again. but this time it sounded like an apology, like a goodbye. I need you to stay very still. Can you do that for me? She nodded, not trusting her voice. Whatever happens, whatever you learn about me in the next few hours. He stopped, his jaw working. I'm sorry. I'm so goddamn sorry. For what? He finally released the necklace, but his hand didn't move away. Instead, his fingers traced the line of her jaw with a gentleness that made her heart ache. For bringing you into my world, he said quietly. For making you a target. For waiting too long to... The beeping stopped again. The LED shifted from amber to steady red, and Anna understood with crystal clarity that she was wearing something far more dangerous than diamonds and gold. She was wearing a weapon. Kenji arrived 17 minutes later. Anna knew because she counted every second, feeling each one tick by in time with the steady pulse of the red LED against her throat. He looked nothing like Jungo's other men. Smaller, younger, with wire-rimmed glasses, and the kind of nervous energy that suggested too much caffeine and not enough sleep. He carried a sleek black case that looked medical, and when he opened it, Anna saw equipment she couldn't name but recognized as expensive. "Don't touch it," were his first words, directed at Jungo. His English carried a slight Japanese accent, crisp and precise. "I mean it, Hyung-nim. Don't touch it. Don't try to remove it. Don't even breathe on it too hard. Then what do I do?" Jungo's voice was still that terrible calm, the kind that preceded violence. "You let me look." Kenji approached Anna like she was an unexploded bomb. Maybe she was. "Miss Phillip, I'm going to scan the device. You'll feel a slight warmth, but it won't hurt. Can you stay very still for me?" Anna nodded. Her throat felt too tight to speak, and not just from the necklace. Kenji produced what looked like a modified tablet, running it slowly over the necklace without making contact. Blue light emanated from the screen, casting shadows across his face as he studied whatever data it was collecting. His expression went from focused to horrified in the space of 3 seconds. "Shit." Jungo was beside him instantly. "What is it?" "It's a binary neurotoxin delivery system." Kenji's hands were shaking as he adjusted the scanner. "Military grade. Maybe better. The diamonds aren't just decorative. They're housing microneedles loaded with what I'm guessing is a 2-part poison. Separate compounds that are harmless individually but lethal when mixed." Anna felt the blood drain from her face. The office tilted slightly, and suddenly Jungo's hand was on her elbow, steadying her. "Sit," he commanded, guiding her to his desk chair. He crouched in front of her, his hands on her knees, his eyes searching her face. "Breathe, Anna. Just breathe. There's poison in it?" Her voice came out thin, reedy. "On my neck right now?" "Not yet," Kenji said, still scanning. "The compounds are contained in separate chambers. But the mechanism," he swore again in Japanese. "If the clasp is forced open, it triggers injection. If it detects tampering, it triggers injection. And there's a geofence." "Explain," Jungo said. "GPS tracking. If Miss Phillip leaves a defined radius, I'd estimate 5 miles based on the signal strength. The device interprets it as an escape attempt and triggers injection." Kenji looked up from his scanner, his face grim. "She's wearing a remote execution device. Sophisticated, expensive, and designed by someone who really understands both technology and human physiology." The room went silent except for the soft beeping of Kenji's equipment. Anna stared at Jungo, watching emotions flicker across his face too fast to catalog. Rage, fear, something that looked dangerously close to guilt. "Can you remove it?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Not without the unlock code. There's a digital lock mechanism, probably 16 to 20 digits based on the encryption I'm seeing. Without the code, any attempt to open it will trigger the injection." Kenji adjusted his glasses. "And before you ask, no, I can't hack it. This isn't some black market tech. This is custom work. Government level, or close to it." "Then trace it," Jungo said. "Every component, every piece of code. Someone built this. Find them. I'm trying, but..." Kenji froze, his eyes widening as something appeared on his screen. "No, that's not possible." Jungo was on his feet in an instant. "What?" "The firmware signature." Kenji's voice had gone flat, emotionless. The tone of someone delivering terrible news. "It's encrypted, but I can see enough of the architecture to recognize the style. Hyungnim. This code was written by, say it, Sok Min-jae. The name meant nothing to Anna, but she watched it land on Jungo like a physical blow. He stepped back, his hand coming up to his mouth, his eyes going distant and dark. That's impossible, he said finally. He's dead. He's been dead for 10 years. Apparently not. Kenji was still staring at his screen. This code is his signature work, the same encryption patterns he used for the family's old security systems. I'd recognize it anywhere. Anna watched Jungo process this information, watched him visibly gather himself, pulling the cold mask back over the raw emotion. When he looked at her again, his eyes were empty. The same look he'd had that first day she'd met him, when she'd thought he was just another tech CEO, just another rich man in a suit. She'd been so wrong. Who is Min-jae? She asked quietly. Jungo didn't answer immediately. He moved to the windows, staring at the darkened glass as if he could see through it to the city beyond. When he spoke, his voice was distant, detached. My older brother, the heir to the Sok family empire before the tech company, before the legitimate businesses. He said, legitimate, like it was a curse. 10 years ago, there was a coup. Internal family politics, rival factions. Min-jae was supposed to die in a warehouse fire in Oakland. I saw the body. You saw a body, Kenji corrected softly. Not necessarily his. He's been alive this whole time. Jungo's hand curled into a fist against the glass. Watching. Waiting. And now He stopped, turning to look at Anna with an expression that made her chest tighten. You're not random. You were chosen specifically. He's using you to get to me. Why me? Anna's voice was barely a whisper. Because he knows. The words came out rough, tortured. He's been watching long enough to know what you mean to me. The admission hung in the air between them, heavy with implications neither of them was ready to unpack. Anna felt heat flood her face, felt her heart stutter against her ribs. Hyungnim, Kenji interrupted gently. There's more. The device has a battery life of approximately 48 hours. After that, the failsafe triggers automatically. Failsafe? Anna heard herself ask. If the battery dies, the device interprets it as tampering and triggers injection. Kenji looked at his watch. Based on the charge level I'm reading, I'd estimate you have 46 hours and 32 minutes before that happens. 2 days. She had 2 days to live unless they found Jungo's supposedly dead brother and got an unlock code from him. Anna felt something shift inside her, the fear crystallizing into something harder, sharper. She'd spent 2 years being professional, being perfect, being the ideal assistant. She'd spent 2 years pretending she didn't feel anything for the dangerous man who paid her salary. Those 2 years felt like a waste now, with death sitting cold and precise against her throat. Then we have 46 hours to find him, she said, and was proud when her voice came out steady. Jungo turned to look at her, and something in his expression shifted. Pride, maybe. Or recognition. You should be screaming, running, demanding to know why this is happening. Would it help? No. Then I'd rather spend the time being useful. She stood, feeling the weight of the necklace shift with the movement. You said he's been watching us. For how long? Long enough to know the date you started working for me, Jungo said. Long enough to know that date matters to me. Why does it matter? She watched him carefully, saw the way his jaw tightened. Because in San Francisco's tech sector, Asian Americans make up 28% of the professional workforce, but hold less than 14% of executive positions. I built Sok Tech to be different. I wanted the best, regardless of background. He paused. You walked into my life on October 3rd with a portfolio that made every other candidate look amateur. You were brilliant, fierce, and you looked at me like I was just another boss, not the silent king of San Francisco's underworld. That date is the day I started counting my life in terms of before and after. Anna felt the confession settle into her bones, felt it rearrange something fundamental in her understanding of their relationship. So he's not just attacking you, she said slowly. He's attacking us. There is no us, Jungo said, but his eyes said otherwise. There can't be. Why not? She moved toward him, watching him tense. Because you're dangerous? Because you have enemies? I'm wearing a death collar, Jungo. I think it's a little late for protecting me from your world. He closed the distance between them in 2 strides, his hand coming up to cup her face with a gentleness that contradicted everything about him. His thumb traced her cheekbone, and Anna felt herself lean into the touch despite everything. When this is over, he said quietly, when you're safe, you're going to leave. You're going to take the severance package I offer you and disappear into a normal life, with normal men who don't have brothers who build death traps. And what if I don't want normal? His eyes darkened. Anna, I've spent 2 years being professional, she interrupted. 2 years pretending I don't notice the way you look at me when you think I'm not paying attention. 2 years ignoring the fact that my heart races every time you walk into a room. If I'm going to die in 46 hours, I'm done pretending. The silence that followed was electric, charged with everything they'd left unsaid for 2 years. Kenji cleared his throat. I'm going to go analyze this data in the other room, and probably be anywhere else for the next few minutes. He left, door clicking shut behind him, leaving Anna alone with Jungo and the weight of her confession. You can't want this, Jungo said finally. You can't want me. Tell me you don't feel it too, Anna challenged. Tell me these 2 years have been nothing to you. Tell me I imagined every loaded glance, every careful distance you maintained, every time you made sure I was safe without making it obvious. He couldn't. She could see it in his eyes, in the way his control was fracturing. You deserve better, he said instead. Someone clean, someone who doesn't have blood on his hands. I don't care about your hands. She reached up, covering his hand with hers where it still cupped her face. I care about you. Something broke in him then. She saw it happen, saw the careful walls he'd maintained for 2 years crumble under the weight of her words and the reality of her mortality. 46 hours, he said roughly. We have 46 hours to save you. And then we figure out what comes next, Anna finished. Together, he leaned his forehead against hers, his breath warm against her lips. I'm going to kill him for this. My brother. I'm going to find him and make him suffer for putting his hands on you, even indirectly. Later, Anna whispered. Right now, just tell me the truth. Tell me I wasn't imagining it. You weren't. His voice was raw, stripped of pretense. Every day, for 2 years, I've watched you walk into this office and wanted things I had no right to want. Every night I've gone home alone and thought about what it would be like to stop being your boss and start being... He stopped, jaw tightening. You were the one good thing in my world, Anna. The one thing I refused to contaminate. Too late, she said softly. I'm already contaminated. Already in danger. So stop protecting me from yourself and help me survive the next 46 hours. He pulled back just enough to look at her, his dark eyes searching her face like he was memorizing every detail. Then, with deliberate care, he pressed a kiss to her forehead. Chaste, reverent, and somehow more intimate than anything else could have been. I'll keep you alive, he promised against her skin. Even if it costs me everything. Anna believed him. She just hoped everything wouldn't include his life along with hers. The penthouse was a fortress disguised as luxury. Anna had never been to Jungo's home. Another line they'd never crossed. But she wasn't surprised to find it occupied the top 2 floors of a building in Pacific Heights, with views that stretched from the Golden Gate to the Bay Bridge. The kind of real estate that represented the 31% of San Francisco's wealth concentrated in 1% of hands. The kind of wealth that was built on blood as much as business. Kenji had set up a command center in what should have been a dining room. Multiple screens displaying surveillance footage, maps, and code. Jungo's men moved through the space like shadows, speaking in low voices, checking weapons with the casual efficiency of people who did this for a living. Anna sat on a leather sofa that felt like it belonged in a museum, trying not to think about the countdown ticking away on her neck. 44 hours and 17 minutes, according to Kenji's latest scan. The door opened. Anna looked up, expecting another one of Jungo's security team. Instead, she found herself staring at the most beautiful woman she'd ever seen. She moved like water, graceful and inevitable, her black dress clinging to curves that belonged in fashion magazines. Her hair was swept up in an elegant twist, her makeup flawless, her whole presence screaming the kind of refined wealth that Anna could never hope to achieve on an assistant's salary, even one as generous as Jungo paid. The woman's eyes found Jungo across the room, and something in her expression softened. Familiarity. Intimacy. Jungo, she said, and even her voice was perfect. Low, melodic, speaking his name with an ease that Anna had never allowed herself. Jungo looked up from the tactical map he'd been studying with Dae-jung. His expression didn't change, but Anna saw him tense, saw something flicker across his face too fast to read. Yuna. He said it like a warning. The woman, Yuna, crossed to him without hesitation, her hand reaching out to touch his arm with casual possession. I came as soon as I heard. Are you hurt? I'm fine. Are you? Yuna's eyes scanned him like she had the right, like she'd done it 1,000 times before. Kenji said there was an incident. He said. Her gaze shifted to Anna, taking in the necklace with sharp focus. Is that it? Yes. Yuna moved toward Anna before she could process what was happening. She crouched in front of the sofa, her eyes level with Anna's, studying the diamonds with the kind of clinical interest that suggested education and experience. Don't touch it, Jungo said sharply. I wasn't planning to. Yuna's attention never left the necklace. Binary delivery system? Neurotoxin? How did you? Because I know Min-jae's work. She said it simply, like discussing a mutual acquaintance. He always did have a flair for the dramatic. Turning jewelry into weapons? Very on brand for him. Anna found her voice. Who are you? Yuna's eyes met hers, and Anna saw intelligence there, cold and calculating. A friend of Jungo's, an old friend. The emphasis on old felt deliberate. Yuna is a specialist, Jungo said from across the room. His voice had gone flat, emotionless. In toxicology and chemical weapons. A poisoner, Yuna corrected with a small smile. Let's not pretty it up with euphemisms. She stood, turning back to Jungo. You should have called me months ago when you first suspected Min-jae was active. I was handling it. Clearly. Yuna's tone was dry. She moved back to Jungo, and Anna watched her straighten his collar with the kind of familiar gesture that spoke of intimacy, of history. Something twisted in Anna's chest, sharp and acidic. Jealousy. She was going to die in less than 2 days, and she was jealous of another woman touching her boss. The absurdity would have been funny if it didn't hurt so much. Jungo's eyes found Anna's across the room, and she saw something flicker in them. Awareness. Regret, maybe. Yuna. Not now, he said quietly, removing her hand from his collar. When, then? Yuna's voice dropped lower, intimate. You can't keep pushing me away, Jungo. We have history. We have nothing. The words were final, absolute. And we're not discussing this now. Yuna's expression tightened, but she nodded. Fine. Then let's discuss how we're going to keep your assistant alive. She glanced back at Anna. How long? 44 hours. Then we don't have time for whatever this is. Yuna gestured between Jungo and Anna. I need to analyze the toxin compounds if there's any hope of developing a counteragent. Kenji, I'll need full spectral analysis of the device. She moved away, all business now, leaving Jungo standing alone. He looked at Anna, and she saw something in his expression that looked like an apology. Anna stood, feeling the necklace shift with the movement, feeling the weight of it like a brand, like a claim. But not Jungo's claim, someone else's. She walked past Jungo without looking at him, heading for what she assumed was a bathroom. She needed space, needed air, needed to not watch another woman touch him with casual familiarity while death counted down on her throat. She found a bathroom done in black marble and chrome, locked the door, and braced her hands on the sink. Her reflection stared back at her. Smooth brown skin now looking ashen, her dark eyes too wide, the necklace sitting at her throat like exactly what it was. A weapon, a claim, a promise of death. Anna touched the diamonds carefully, feeling their cold weight. They hadn't warmed yet, even after hours against her skin. Still cold, still foreign, the door handle rattled. Anna, Jungo's voice. Of course. I need a minute, she called back. Open the door. I said I need. Anna, open the door. Now. The command in his voice sent electricity down her spine despite her anger. She unlocked the door but didn't open it, stepping back to let him do it himself. He entered and closed the door behind him, leaning against it like he was blocking her only escape route. The bathroom suddenly felt tiny with him in it. his presence overwhelming the expensive fixtures and designer tile. "She's not what you think," he said without preamble. "I'm not thinking anything." Anna crossed her arms. "You don't owe me explanations about your personal life. I'm your employee, your assistant who happens to be wearing a death sentence that your brother put there. You're not just my assistant." The words came out rough. "And you know it." "Do I?" She met his eyes in the mirror. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you have a beautiful woman who knows your family, who touches you like she has the right, who you called in the middle of the night to help with this. That doesn't exactly scream nothing between us." Jun-go moved before she could track it, his hands on her hips, spinning her to face him. He crowded her against the sink, his body close enough that she could feel his heat, could smell rain and expensive cologne, and something darker underneath. "Yuna is a tool," he said, his voice dropping to something dangerous. "A weapon I keep sharp in case I need her. She's useful, efficient, and she understands the world I live in because she lives in it too. So what am I?" Anna challenged. "Another tool? Another weapon?" His hand came up to cup her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone with a gentleness that made her breath catch. "You're the reason I'm still pretending to be human. You're the 3 hours every day I get to forget about blood and territory and survival. You're—" He stopped, jaw clenching. "You're everything I can't have, can't or won't. Both." He leaned in closer, his forehead almost touching hers. "Yuna knows what I am. She's seen me kill. She's helped me dispose of bodies. She understands that the man standing in front of you right now has done things that would make you run screaming if you knew the details." "Then tell me," Anna whispered. "Tell me the worst thing you've ever done. Let me decide if I'm running." His eyes searched hers, dark and fathomless. "When I was 23, I killed 4 men in a warehouse in Oakland. They'd betrayed my father, stolen from the family. I used a knife because guns are too quick, too impersonal. I wanted them to know exactly who was ending them and why." He said it without emotion, without inflection. "One of them begged. Offered me money, information, anything. I killed him last, slowly, while his friends' bodies cooled around him." Anna felt the confession settle into her bones, felt the weight of it. She should be horrified, should be afraid, should be exactly what he said, running. Instead, she reached up and covered his hand with hers where it still cupped her face. "Did they deserve it?" she asked quietly. Something flickered in his eyes. "Surprise, maybe. Yes. Then I'm not running." She held his gaze. "I spent 2 years seeing pieces of who you are, Jun-go. I saw the blood on your knuckles. I saw the men who defer to you like you're royalty. I saw the way people look at you with fear and respect in equal measure. I knew you weren't just a tech CEO. I knew, and I stayed anyway." "Why?" The question sounded torn from him. "Because between the violence and the danger, I also saw you remember my coffee order after one time. I saw you quietly donate to my cousin's cancer fund when you thought I wouldn't notice. I saw you stand between me and that client who got handsy, and I saw you end his contract without explanation the next day." She took a breath. "I saw enough to know that whatever else you are, you're also capable of caring, even if you don't want to admit it." Jun-go's control cracked. She saw it happen, saw the careful mask slip. He pulled her against him, his arms wrapping around her like he could shield her from the world, from his brother, from death itself. "I didn't bring Yuna here to replace you," he said against her hair. "I brought her here because I suspected months ago that Min-jae might be alive. I hired her to teach me about poisons, about antidotes, about how to keep someone alive if they were infected with something designed to kill them. I hired her because I was terrified something like this might happen and I wanted to be prepared." Anna pulled back enough to look at him. "You've been preparing to save me for months?" "I've been preparing to save you since the day you walked into my life." His hand came up to hover over the necklace, not touching it, just acknowledging it. "Because some part of me knew that caring about you would make you a target, knew that my enemies would see what you mean to me and use it. I should have fired you, should have sent you away before anyone noticed. But I'm selfish, Anna. I wanted you close even knowing it would put you in danger." "Stop," she said firmly. "Stop blaming yourself. Your brother did this, not you. I made you vulnerable by caring about you. Then care about me by keeping me alive." She grabbed his hand, pressing it against her chest so he could feel her heartbeat. I have 44 hours left. Don't waste them on guilt. Waste them on finding your brother and getting that unlock code." He stared at her like she was something precious and breakable. Then, with deliberate care, he leaned down and pressed a kiss to her forehead. The same gesture from earlier, chaste and reverent. "When this is over," he said quietly, "when you're safe, I'm going to spend a very long time showing you exactly what you mean to me, and then I'm going to give you the choice to walk away, to live a normal life without me in it. And what if I choose you? Then God help us both," he said, and kissed her forehead again before releasing her. "Because I won't let you go twice." He left the bathroom, leaving Anna alone with her reflection and the weight of his confession. She touched the necklace again, feeling its cold promise against her skin. 44 hours. She just had to survive 44 more hours. And then she could choose the dangerous life she wanted, instead of the safe one she'd been told she should want. Anna took a breath and walked back into the war room, ready to fight for her own survival. The sun was setting over San Francisco, painting the sky in shades of amber and blood. Anna watched it from Jungo's floor-to-ceiling windows, feeling the countdown like a second heartbeat. 39 hours and 43 minutes. Behind her, Kenji worked at his screens, running facial recognition software through what must have been thousands of surveillance feeds. Jungo and his men were coordinating searches across the city, reaching out to contacts in the underworld, pulling favors from people Anna didn't want to know about. Yuna had been in the lab. Apparently Jungo had a full chemistry lab in his building, because of course he did, analyzing the trace compounds she'd managed to scan from the necklace without triggering it. She'd emerged an hour ago with bad news. The toxin was custom designed, military grade, and would kill Anna within 60 seconds of injection. No known antidote, so their only option was the unlock code, which meant finding Min Jae. "Miss Phillip," Kenji's voice was gentle. "Could you come look at this?" Anna crossed to his station, careful not to move too quickly. The necklace had been quiet for hours, its LED a steady red pulse, but she was hyper-aware of it now, aware of the mechanics against her skin, the poison waiting mere millimeters from her jugular. Kenji's screen showed what looked like financial records, columns of numbers and dates scrolling past. "I've been tracing the package delivery," he explained. "The courier service was a dummy company, created 3 days ago and dissolved immediately after the delivery. But the payment trail is interesting." He highlighted a series of transactions. The money originated from an account in the Cayman Islands, but before that, it passed through a series of shells. I managed to trace it back to its source. He pulled up another screen. This one showed a photograph. A man in his 50s, smiling at a charity function, his arm around a woman Anna didn't recognize. "Who is that?" she asked. "According to the metadata, his name is James Phillip." Kenji glanced at her. "Any relation?" The world tilted. Anna gripped the desk to stay upright, staring at the photograph of a man she'd spent most of her life trying to forget. Her father. The man who'd left when she was 12, walking out with barely a word and never looking back. The man who'd left her mother struggling to keep their tiny apartment, who'd missed every birthday and graduation and moment that mattered. "That's my father," she heard herself say. "But I don't understand. What does he have to do with this?" Kenji pulled up more files. According to these records, James Phillip was employed by the Seok family from 2010 to 2015. He was listed as a financial consultant, but the money he handled, he shook his head. This was cash that needed cleaning. He was laundering money for the syndicate. Anna felt sick. "There's more." Kenji's voice was gentle, like he was delivering a terminal diagnosis. In December 2013, approximately $50 million went missing from several Seok family accounts, the same month Min Jae supposedly died. And James Phillip disappeared around the same time. "No." Anna's voice was barely a whisper. "No, he wouldn't. I'm sorry, Miss Phillip." Kenji pulled up more records. "But it looks like your father helped Min Jae fake his death and stole $50 million from the family in the process. He's been living under an assumed name in the Bahamas for the last 10 years. The room was spinning. Anna felt Jungo's hands on her shoulders steadying her, and only then realized she'd been swaying on her feet. "Sit down," he said quietly, guiding her to a chair. "My father." The words tasted like ashes. "My father worked for your family. My father stole from you. Anna. That's why I'm wearing this." She touched the necklace with shaking fingers. I'm not collateral damage. I'm not even a pawn. I'm payment. Interest on a debt my father left behind. The math was brutal in its simplicity. Her father had stolen $50 million and disappeared, leaving her behind to grow up in poverty, to struggle through college with loans and scholarships, to fight for every opportunity. And now his debt was literally wrapped around her throat, counting down to payment in blood. He knew. Anna looked up at Jungo, feeling tears burn behind her eyes. When I applied for the job here, when I started working for you, my father knew who you were. He knew I'd be working for the family he stole from. We need to find him, Jungo said, his voice carefully controlled. If Min Jae has been in contact with your father, he might know where my brother is hiding. Or my father is hiding with him? Anna felt something hard and cold settle in her chest. They worked together before. Why not now? Kenji pulled up another file. I found correspondence between an encrypted email account I've traced to Min Jae and your father's current identity. The most recent message was sent 3 days ago. It says, package delivered. The girl has no idea. How long before you make your move? 3 days ago. Right before the necklace arrived at her desk. He knew, Anna whispered. My father knew Min Jae was going to kill me, and he helped anyway. The betrayal cut deeper than the death sentence. Her father had abandoned her once when she was a child. Now he was helping murder her for money he'd already stolen. Jungo crouched in front of her chair, his hands coming up to frame her face, forcing her to look at him. We're going to find them. Both of them. And we're going to make them pay for this. I don't care about payment. Anna's voice came out steady despite the tears she could feel threatening. I care about surviving. I care about not dying because of debts I didn't even know existed. You're not dying. Jungo said it like a command, like he could will it into reality through sheer force of conviction. I won't allow it. You don't get to decide. Yes, I do. His thumb wiped away a tear that had escaped despite her best efforts. You're mine to protect, Anna. You have been since the day you walked into my office. Your father's debts aren't yours. His sins aren't yours. And you sure as hell aren't paying for them with your life. Min Jae clearly disagrees, she said bitterly. Then I'll kill him. Jungo said it with the same casual certainty most people use to discuss the weather. I should have done it 10 years ago. I should have made sure he was actually dead instead of trusting a body in a burned-out warehouse. Yuna appeared in the doorway. I have something. She looked between Jungo and Anna, reading the tension. The email correspondence Kenji found includes GPS coordinates embedded in the metadata. Sloppy work, honestly. Min Jae must have gotten arrogant. Where? Jungo stood, his hand still on Anna's shoulder. Oakland. An abandoned warehouse district near the port. Yuna crossed to Kenji's station, pulling up a map. Same area where the coup happened 10 years ago. He's gone back to the beginning. It could be a trap, Daejung said from across the room. It definitely is a trap, Jungo agreed. But we don't have a choice. We have... He glanced at Anna. How long? 38 hours and 12 minutes, she said quietly. Jungo's jaw tightened. Then we spring the trap. Kenji, I want full tactical planning. Daejung, assemble the team. We go in tonight. You're not going, Anna said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. Anna. You're not going, she repeated, standing to face him. This is exactly what he wants. He put this necklace on me to draw you out. He's been waiting 10 years for a chance to finish what he started. If you walk into that warehouse, you're giving him exactly what he wants. And if I don't, you die. Then let me die. She said it calmly, rationally, watching his face go white. I'm serious. One life versus whatever damage your brother can do if he kills you and takes over your territory. The math isn't difficult. Jungo moved before she could process it, his hands on her arms, pulling her against his chest. Don't. His voice was raw, stripped of all control. Don't you dare suggest that. Don't you dare make me choose between your life and anything else, because you will win every time. Do you understand me? Every time. Anna felt his heartbeat against her cheek, felt the tremor running through his hands where they gripped her. This was Jungo without the mask, without the careful distance. This was the man underneath the Silent King. I don't want you to die for me, she whispered. And I don't want to live in a world without you in it. He pulled back enough to look at her, his dark eyes intense. So we're both going to survive this. We're going to walk into that warehouse, get the unlock code, and walk back out, together. You can't promise that. Watch me. He released her, turning to his team. We go in at midnight. I want 3 entry points covered, snipers on the high ground, and every exit sealed. If Min Jae is in that warehouse, he's not leaving it alive. Anna watched him shift back into command mode, watched him plan an assault with the same precision he used for corporate acquisitions. She thought about her father, hiding somewhere with Min Jae, helping plot her death for money. She thought about the little girl she'd been, waiting by the window for a father who never came home. That little girl had learned to be strong, to be independent, to need no one. She'd built walls around her heart and told herself she was fine alone, but she wasn't alone anymore. She had Jun-go, with his blood-stained hands and his dragon tattoos and his absolute conviction that he could save her. She had 38 hours left, and she was going to spend them fighting beside him, not hiding behind him. I'm coming with you, she said suddenly. Jun-go turned. Absolutely not. It's my life on the line. My father involved. I'm coming. Anna, you said I was yours to protect. She moved toward him, holding his gaze. That goes both ways. You're mine too, Jun-go, and I'm not letting you walk into a trap alone while I sit here and wait to see if you come back. Something shifted in his expression. Not agreement, but understanding. Recognition of the fact that she wasn't going to back down. She has a point, Hyung-nim, Kenji said quietly. Min Jae expects you to come alone or with your men. He won't expect Miss Phillip. That might give us an advantage. Or it puts her in more danger, Jun-go countered. I'm already in danger, Anna said. I'm wearing it around my neck. At least let me face it on my terms. Jun-go stared at her for a long moment, and she could see the war happening behind his eyes. Finally, he nodded once, sharp and final. Fine. But you stay behind me at all times. You don't engage, you don't take risks, and if I tell you to run, you run. Understood? Understood. It was a lie, and they both knew it. If it came down to it, Anna wasn't running. Not anymore. She'd spent her whole life running from her father's abandonment, from poverty, from vulnerability. She'd spent 2 years running from her feelings for Jun-go, pretending she could maintain professional distance from a man who'd rewritten her definition of desire. She was done running. 38 hours left, and she was going to spend them fighting. They didn't go to Oakland at midnight. At 10 p.m., Kenji's equipment started beeping urgently, and the LED on Anna's necklace shifted from steady red to a pulsing amber. What's happening? Jun-go was at her side instantly, his hand hovering over the device. The sensors are malfunctioning. Kenji was scanning frantically. No, not malfunctioning. They're recalibrating. I think the device is adapting to her biometrics. Explain. Now. It's measuring her heart rate, body temperature, stress hormones. Kenji's face was grim. It's learning her baseline so it can detect anomalies. What kind of anomalies? Anna asked, though she already knew the answer made her chest tight. If your heart rate drops below 40 beats per minute, the device will interpret it as death or unconsciousness and trigger the injection. Kenji met her eyes. You can't sleep, Miss Phillip. If you fall asleep, it will kill you. The words hung in the air, heavy and final. How long can a person stay awake? Jun-go's voice was carefully controlled. 3 to 4 days before cognitive function breaks down completely. 5 to 6 before hallucinations start. 7 before. Kenji stopped. She has 36 hours left on the battery, but she won't make it that long if she can't sleep. Jun-go's hand curled into a fist. There has to be a way to fool the sensors, not without triggering them. The technology is too sophisticated. Kenji adjusted his glasses. I'm sorry, Hyung-nim. The math doesn't work. Even if we get the unlock code in Oakland tonight, Miss Phillip won't be functional enough to. Then we keep her awake. Jun-go's tone left no room for argument. Whatever it takes. He turned to Anna, and she saw something in his eyes that made her breath catch. Not just determination. Something darker, more desperate. Come with me, he said quietly. He led her away from the war room, past Yuna's lab, to a section of the penthouse Anna hadn't seen. A bedroom, his bedroom, she realized, decorated in shades of black and gray with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The bed was massive, modern, and suddenly seemed to dominate the space. Jungo closed the door behind them, leaning against it like he was blocking the world out. "You can't sleep," he said, "which means I need to keep you awake. Keep your heart rate elevated, your system stimulated. Coffee?" Anna tried for lightness and failed. Not enough. He pushed off the door, moving toward her with that predatory grace she'd come to recognize. "I need to keep you present, alert, feeling. I need to override your body's desire to rest." Anna's pulse kicked up, and she wondered if the necklace was measuring it, cataloging this new spike. "How?" Jungo stopped in front of her, close enough that she could feel his heat. "By giving you something more compelling than sleep to focus on." His hand came up to cup her face, thumb tracing her lower lip with deliberate care. Anna felt electricity shoot down her spine, felt her body respond to his proximity in ways she'd been suppressing for 2 years. "I'm going to tell you things," he said quietly. "True things I've never said out loud. And every time you look like you might drift, every time your eyes get heavy, I'm going to bring you back. Whatever it takes. Do you trust me?" Anna thought about the question. Thought about this man who'd killed 4 people in a warehouse, who commanded an underground empire, who'd been planning to save her life for months without telling her. "Yes," she said simply. Something flared in his eyes. Relief, maybe, or desire. He guided her to sit on the bed, then dropped to his knees in front of her, his hands on her thighs, his face level with hers. "The first time I saw you," he began, his voice low and intimate. "You were wearing a gray suit and carrying a portfolio that was held together with duct tape. You walked into my office like you owned it, looked me in the eye, and told me that my company's branding was adequate but uninspired. Do you remember?" Anna nodded. She'd been terrified during that interview, but she'd also been broke and desperate enough to be honest. "I hired you before you finished your presentation," Jungo continued. "Not because of your portfolio, though it was brilliant. I hired you because you looked at me like I was just another boss, not the silent king. You didn't flinch when I walked into the room. You didn't show fear. You showed confidence and competence and fire." His hands tightened on her thighs. "And I knew in that moment that you were dangerous to me." "Dangerous how?" Her voice came out breathy. "Because I wanted you immediately. Wanted to know what that confidence tasted like. Wanted to see if I could make you flinch by choice instead of fear." His thumb traced circles on her inner thigh through her slacks. "But I also knew you deserved better than a man like me. So I kept my distance. Treated you like an employee. Pretended I didn't count the minutes until you walked through the door every morning." Anna felt heat flood her body. Felt her heart rate spike. The necklace pulsed against her throat, measuring her response, and she didn't care. "I did the same thing," she admitted. "Counted minutes. Memorized your schedule, so I'd know when to expect you. Found excuses to stay late when you were working." Jungo's eyes darkened. "You were playing a dangerous game, Anna. So were you." He stood abruptly, pulling her up with him. "Do you know how many times I almost crossed the line? How many times I wanted to lock my office door and show you exactly what you did to me? Tell me." She felt reckless now, the proximity of death making her bold. "Tell me what you wanted." "Everything." The word came out rough. "I wanted to see if your skin was as soft as it looked. Wanted to know if you'd fight back when I kissed you or melt into it. Wanted to hear you say my name like a prayer instead of a title." He backed her against the window, the cool glass a contrast to his heat. His hand came up to brace beside her head, caging her in. "I wanted to take you on my desk," he continued, his voice dropping to something raw and dangerous. "Wanted to make you forget every rule you'd made about staying professional. Wanted to ruin you for normal men, for safe choices, for anything that wasn't me." Anna's breathing was ragged now, her whole body hyper-aware of his proximity. "Why didn't you?" "Because you deserved the choice. Deserved to come to me without power dynamics or pressure. Deserved to know what you were getting into before you committed." His thumb traced her jawline. "But now you're here, wearing death around your throat, and I'm done pretending I don't want you. Done maintaining distance. So I'm going to keep you awake, Anna, and I'm going to do it by showing you exactly what these 2 years could have been." He kissed her. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was possession and desperation, and 2 years of restraint shattering like glass. Anna kissed him back just as fiercely, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. Jungo's hand slid into her hair, angling her head to deepen the kiss. His other hand found her hip, pulling her against him so she could feel exactly what effect she had on him. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Anna felt more awake than she had in hours. "Your heart rate is elevated," Jungo said against her lips. "Good, let's keep it that way." He kissed her again, slower this time, deliberate. His mouth moved from her lips to her jaw, to the spot just below her ear that made her gasp. He was careful around the necklace, never touching it, working around the death sentence with the same precision he brought to everything. "Tell me to stop," he murmured against her throat. "And I will. Tell me this is too much, and we'll find another way to keep you awake." "Don't stop." Anna pulled him back to her. "Please don't stop." So he didn't. He kept her awake with kisses and confessions, with stories about the things he'd wanted to do during those 2 years of professional distance. He kept her present with touch that never quite crossed into explicit but lived in the space between promise and fulfillment. Every time her eyes grew heavy, he'd shift tactics. A new revelation, a different touch, something to spike her adrenaline and pull her back from the edge of sleep. "I used to watch you take notes during meetings," he said hours later, his fingers tracing patterns on her arm. "You had this habit of biting your lower lip when you were concentrating. It drove me insane. I'd sit through entire presentations thinking about what it would feel like to bite that lip myself." Anna felt heat flood her body again, felt the exhaustion trying to pull her under and fought it back. "I knew you were watching. Sometimes I did it on purpose." His eyes darkened. "Dangerous game." "I like danger." She traced the tattoo visible at his collar. The dragon's tail. "Show me the rest of it." Jungo hesitated, then slowly unbuttoned his shirt. Anna watched ink emerge, a dragon that wrapped around his torso. Intricate and beautiful, scales rendered in black and gray that seemed to move in the low light. "It's traditional," he explained. "The dragon represents the family, the power. Each scale is a territory we control, a business we own. The head." He turned slightly, showing her how the dragon's head wrapped over his heart. "The head is inked over the place we're supposed to protect. The heart of the empire." Anna reached out, tracing the scales with gentle fingers. "It's beautiful. It's a brand, a claim, a reminder of what I am." He caught her hand, pressed it flat against his chest so she could feel his heartbeat. "But right now, all I want is to forget about empires and territories and focus on keeping you alive. Then keep me awake." She pulled him down to her. "Tell me more secrets, more truths. Make me feel alive." So he did. He told her about the loneliness of being the silent king, about the weight of running an empire built on blood. He told her about the first time he realized he was in love with her. 6 months in, when she'd brought him lunch because she'd noticed he'd been skipping meals during a major acquisition. "You didn't make a big deal of it," he said, his fingers playing with her hair. "Just set it on my desk and went back to work. But it was my favorite meal from a restaurant I'd never told you about. You'd paid attention, remembered, cared enough to notice I wasn't taking care of myself." "Of course I noticed," Anna said. "I always noticed." "I know." He kissed her forehead. "That's why I fell in love with you. Because you saw me. Not the king, not the boss. Just me, the man who likes his coffee too hot and skips lunch and sometimes has blood on his knuckles he can't explain." "I love you too." The word slipped out, exhaustion making her honest. "Have for a while now." Jungo went very still. Then his arms tightened around her, pulling her close. "Say it again," he commanded softly. "I love you." Anna looked up at him. "Even knowing what you are. Even wearing this." She touched the necklace carefully. "Even if I die in..." She glanced at the clock. 29 hours. "I love you, Jungo." He kissed her like a drowning man finding air, desperate and consuming. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright with something that looked like tears, though she knew he'd never admit it. "You're not dying," he said fiercely. "I won't allow it. We're going to Oakland. We're getting that unlock code, and then I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worth the faith you have in me." "You already have," Anna whispered. He held her through the night, keeping her awake with stories and touches and promises. Every time exhaustion tried to drag her under, he'd find a new way to bring her back. A confession she hadn't heard, a touch she hadn't felt, a revelation that made her pulse spike and her heart race above that deadly 40 beats per minute. As dawn broke over San Francisco, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Anna was still awake. Exhausted but alive. Loved and held and fighting, 28 hours left, and she was going to survive them. Oakland at dusk looked like a painting of urban decay. Rusted shipping containers stacked like forgotten toys. Warehouses with broken windows gaping like missing teeth. The kind of landscape where bad things happened and nobody heard screams. The warehouse district near the port had been slowly dying for a decade, and Min-jae had apparently been dying right along with it. Or not dying, as the case turned out to be. Jun-go's team had set up a perimeter an hour before sunset. Anna watched from inside one of the black SUVs, Kenji beside her with his equipment, Yuna checking weapons with the calm efficiency of someone who'd done this many times before. 24 hours and 18 minutes left on the necklace. The GPS spoofer Kenji had rigged in the SUV was the only reason she was still breathing. It was currently tricking the device's location sensors, though Kenji had warned that a direct short-range radio signal from Min-jae could still override it. Anna's exhaustion was a living thing now, pressing against her consciousness like a physical weight. Jun-go had kept her awake through the night, but now her body was screaming for sleep, for rest, for anything that wasn't this constant hyper-vigilance. The necklace knew. The LED had been pulsing amber for the last hour, warning that her biometrics were approaching dangerous territory. "Stay in the vehicle," Jun-go said for the third time, checking his weapon with practiced ease. He was dressed all in black now, no expensive suit, just tactical gear that made him look exactly like what he was. A man built for violence. "We've been over this," Anna said. Her voice sounded thin even to her own ears. "And we'll go over it again." He turned to her, his eyes hard. "You stay here with Kenji. You don't leave this SUV. You don't take risks. If something goes wrong, Kenji drives you straight to the airport, and you disappear. Jun-go. Jun-go. Promise me." He crowded into her space, his hand coming up to cup her face. "Promise me that if this goes bad, you'll run. You'll take the money Kenji has for you, and start over somewhere my family can't find you. But the necklace, Yuna has been working on a temporary bypass. It'll buy you maybe 6 hours before the failsafe triggers. 6 hours to get far enough away that when it happens, it won't be my brother pulling the trigger." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "Promise me, Anna." She looked into his eyes and saw what he wasn't saying, that he didn't expect to survive this, that he was making peace with dying as long as she had a chance to live. "No," she said firmly. "Anna, no. I'm not promising to run while you die. I'm not spending the last 6 hours of my life without you, wondering if you're alive or dead. We survive together or not at all." Jun-go's control cracked. "God damn it, Anna, I can't focus on taking down my brother if I'm worried about you dying. I need you safe. I need to know that even if this ends badly, you're going to be okay." "Then don't let it end badly." She grabbed his tactical vest, pulling him closer. "Go in there, get the unlock code, and come back to me. Don't sacrifice yourself trying to save me. I don't want to live in a world without you in it either." Something in his expression softened. "When did you become so stubborn?" "I learned from the best." She kissed him quickly, tasting coffee and determination. "Now go. The sooner you get that code, the sooner we can stop having this argument." Jun-go held her gaze for another moment, then nodded once. He touched his forehead to hers, a brief moment of intimacy, then pulled back and turned to his team. "Standard formation. Dae-jung takes point. I want eyes on all exits before we breach. And remember, Min-jae is mine. No one kills him but me." The team moved out with military precision, disappearing into the gathering darkness. Anna watched them go, feeling her heart try to hammer out of her chest. "He'll be fine," Kenji said quietly beside her. "Hyungnim has survived worse. Has he survived his brother before?" Kenji didn't answer, which was answer enough. They waited. Minutes stretched like hours. Kenji monitored radio chatter, tracking Jun-go's team through the building via the small cameras they'd planted during recon. Anna watched the screens, seeing glimpses of her world walking through darkness. Jun-go moving with lethal purpose, his men flanking him, weapons ready. "They're approaching the central warehouse," Kenji narrated. 3 heat signatures inside. One matches Min-jae's profile from old footage. The other 2, he frowned, One is stationary, the other is moving toward the entrance. Anna leaned forward, squinting at the thermal imagery. Who's stationary? Unknown. But they're not armed based on the heat signature. They're just... Kenji's eyes widened. They're tied up. Hyungnim, someone's restrained inside. Jungo's voice came through the radio, distorted but clear. Copy that, proceeding with caution. They watched as Jungo's team breached the warehouse. The thermal cameras showed them spreading out, weapons raised, moving toward the heat signatures with coordinated precision. Then Jungo's voice again, but different now. Shocked. It's him. It's James Phillip. Anna's breath stopped. My father? Kenji nodded grimly, pointing at the stationary heat signature. Tied to a chair in the center of the room. This is a trap. Pull them out, Anna said urgently. Tell them to abort. I can't. Radio silence now that they're inside. Kenji was typing frantically. The building is lined with signal jammers. I can receive but not transmit. They're on their own. They watched helplessly as Jungo approached the figure in the chair. Even through the thermal imaging, Anna could see the moment he recognized her father. Could see him go still with recognition or rage or both. Then the moving heat signature rushed forward. Anna saw it happen in slow motion. Saw Min-jae emerge from the shadows. Saw him crash into Jungo. Saw them both go down in a tangle of limbs and weapons. The other heat signatures, Jungo's men, converged, but more shapes appeared on the thermal. Reinforcements. Min-jae had been waiting with an army. No, Anna whispered. No, no, no. Gunfire erupted. She could see the muzzle flashes even through the thermal imaging, could see bodies falling, could see chaos consuming the warehouse. And then, horribly, she saw Jungo go still. Kenji, she said, her voice surprisingly calm. Give me a weapon. Miss Phillip, give me a weapon now, or I'm going in there with my bare hands. Kenji looked at her for a long moment, then reached under the seat and produced a handgun. Safety's here. Point and shoot. And Miss Phillip? Don't die. Hyungnim would never forgive me. Anna took the gun, feeling its weight settle into her palm. She'd never fired one before, but she'd watched enough of Jungo's training sessions to understand the basics. She opened the SUV door. Miss Phillip, wait. She didn't wait. She ran toward the warehouse, the necklace bouncing against her throat, the gun heavy in her hand, exhaustion and adrenaline mixing into something that felt like clarity. The warehouse loomed ahead, gunfire echoing from inside. Anna found a side entrance that Jungo's team had left open, slipped through into darkness and chaos. Bodies on the floor, some moving, some not. She recognized one of Jungo's men, clutching his shoulder but still alive. The sounds of fighting came from deeper in, where light spilled from what looked like a central office area. Anna moved toward it, her whole body shaking but her hands steady on the gun. She reached the doorway and looked inside. Jungo was on his knees, blood running down his face from a cut above his eye. Min-jae stood behind him, a gun pressed to the back of his head. They looked identical, same bone structure, same build. But where Jungo's face was open and alive even in defeat, Min-jae's was a mask of cold satisfaction. Her father sat in a chair off to the side, bound and gagged, his eyes wide with terror. Hello, brother, Min-jae was saying. It's been too long. I've missed our family reunions. Jungo said nothing, his eyes scanning the room. They landed on Anna in the doorway, and she saw fear flash across his face. Run, he mouthed. She stepped into the room instead. Min-jae's head turned, and Anna got her first good look at Jungo's supposedly dead brother. He had the same sharp features, the same dark eyes, but where Jungo had a kind of contained violence, Min-jae radiated cruelty. It was in the twist of his smile, the cold calculation in his gaze. Ah, he said, his English carrying a heavier Korean accent than Jungo's. The girl, the leverage. How convenient of you to deliver yourself. Let him go, Anna said, raising the gun with shaking hands. Take the coat off this necklace. Let him go, and You'll what? Min-jae laughed. Shoot me? You're trembling so hard I doubt you could hit the wall, let alone me. He pressed the gun harder against Jungo's skull. Drop it or I paint the floor with my baby brother's brain. Anna's finger tightened on the trigger. Don't, Jungo said quietly. Anna, please, don't do this. Listen to him, Min-jae suggested. He's trying to save you. Very noble. Very stupid. He glanced at the necklace around Anna's throat, the LED now pulsing a frantic amber. How much time do you have left? 20 hours? 19? The code is 16 digits. Would you like to try guessing? Anna kept the gun raised, her mind racing. She couldn't shoot. She'd never fired a weapon. And Min-jae was right that she was shaking too hard to aim properly. But she also couldn't just surrender. Not with Jungo's life on the line. Her eyes found her father, still bound and gagged. He was shaking his head frantically, trying to communicate something. Why? She asked Min-jae, stalling. Why use me? Why not just kill Jungo and take what you want? Because killing him quickly would be boring. Min-jae's smile widened. He took everything from me. My position, my territory, my life. I wanted him to know what it felt like to lose something precious, to watch it die slowly while being completely powerless to stop it. I never took anything from you, Jungo said, his voice steady despite the gun at his head. You lost everything when you tried to betray the family, when you killed our father. Our father was weak, Min-jae spat. He wanted to go legitimate, to wash away the blood and pretend we were respectable. I was saving the family from his softness. You were destroying it, Jungo countered. And I stopped you. I should have made sure you stayed stopped. Min-jae's face twisted with rage. His finger tightened on the trigger. Anna saw it happening, saw the decision forming in his eyes. She did the only thing she could think of. She threw the gun at Min-jae's face. It wasn't strategic. It wasn't graceful. But it worked. Min-jae flinched, ducking instinctively, and his gun moved away from Jungo's head for just a second. Jungo moved. Anna had seen him fight before during training sessions, had seen the controlled violence he was capable of. But this was different. This was survival. This was two brothers with a decade of hatred between them, fighting for dominance in the space of heartbeats. They crashed into each other, both reaching for weapons, both trying for killing blows. Anna scrambled back as they rolled past her, a blur of black tactical gear and desperate violence. A gunshot. Anna's heart stopped, then another. The brothers separated, both on their feet now, both bleeding. Jungo had a gash across his ribs. Min-jae was clutching his shoulder where blood seeped between his fingers. You were always the weaker one, Min-jae panted. Always needing approval. Always trying to do the right thing. It made you predictable. Controllable. And you were always alone, Jungo countered. So focused on power you forgot to build loyalty. That's why your coup failed, Hyung. That's why you've been hiding for 10 years instead of fighting. You have no one. I have enough. Min-jae's good hand moved to his phone, still in his pocket. One button, and the girl's necklace triggers. Do you really want to test my resolve? No, everyone froze. Anna felt the necklace like a brand against her throat, felt the LED pulsing its warning. 19 hours and 43 minutes left, but it wouldn't matter if Min-jae pressed that button. Don't, Jungo said quietly. Please, Hyung. We can end this without her dying. Take me. Take the territory. Take whatever you want. Just let her go. But she's the whole point, Min-jae said. She's the thing that makes you weak. The thing that makes you human. And I can't have you being human, Jungo. I need you dead. His finger moved toward his phone. Anna didn't think. She lunged forward, not at Min-jae, but at her father, pulling the gag from his mouth. The code, she shouted at him. Tell me the code. Her father gasped for air. Don't lie to me. Anna grabbed his shirt. You helped him build this. You helped him plan my murder. Tell me the goddamn code, or I swear I'll 8107201512235799. Her father screamed it all at once, the numbers tumbling out in a desperate rush. Anna memorized them in an instant, her tired mind suddenly crystal clear. 16 digits. October 7th, 2015. The date he'd disappeared. The date he'd chosen death over his daughter. Min-jae's face went white with rage. You weren't supposed to. Jungo hit him before he could finish. A brutal strike that sent Min-jae sprawling. The phone skittered across the floor. Jungo was on him in seconds, pinning him down, his hands wrapped around his brother's throat. Anna ran to where the phone had fallen, scooped it up with shaking hands. She found the app. There, a simple interface with the necklace's serial number and a button labeled Trigger, and below it, a smaller button, Emergency Unlock. She pressed it. Nothing happened. Then a prompt appeared. Enter 16-digit code. Her fingers flew across the screen, entering the numbers her father had given her. 81072015122357. Processing. Anna held her breath, feeling the necklace pulse against her throat. Verified. Unlock sequence initiated. Remain stationary for 30 seconds. The LED shifted from amber to green. Anna stood perfectly still, counting 30 seconds that felt like 30 years. Behind her, she could hear Jungo and Min-jae still fighting, could hear her father sobbing, could hear sirens in the distance. Someone must have called the police. 25 seconds. 26. 27. The necklace clicked. The clasp released, and the weight fell away from her throat into her hands. Anna caught it, staring at the device that had been her death sentence for the last 2 days. Then she dropped it on the concrete floor and watched Jungo's men crush it under their boots until it was nothing but diamonds and broken circuits. She looked up to find Jungo staring at her, Min-jae unconscious at his feet, blood on both their faces but both alive. "It's off," Anna said, her voice breaking. "It's off. I'm free. We're—" He crossed to her in 3 strides and kissed her like the world was ending and she was the only thing worth saving. Anna kissed him back with everything she had, tasting blood and relief and the desperate joy of survival. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jungo pressed his forehead to hers. "Never again," he said fiercely. "Never again do you come into danger for me. Never again do you—" "Together," Anna interrupted. "From now on, we face danger together. That's the deal." He looked like he wanted to argue. Then something in his expression softened. "Together," he agreed. The sirens were getting closer. Jungo's men were moving efficiently, securing Min-jae, helping the wounded, preparing for the inevitable explanations. Anna's father was still tied to the chair, still sobbing, and Anna realized with distant surprise that she felt nothing looking at him. No anger, no grief, just a cold kind of emptiness. "What happens to him?" she asked Jungo quietly. "Whatever you want." Jungo's arm tightened around her. "He's your father. Your call." Anna walked over to where her father sat, looked down at the man who'd abandoned her twice now. Once as a child, once as a death sentence. "I don't want him," she said finally. "Not his punishment, not his apology, not anything. He's a stranger who happens to share my DNA." She looked at Jungo. "Can you make him disappear? Not kill him, just make him gone?" Jungo nodded. "Consider it done." As they walked out of the warehouse together, Anna realized she was finally free. Not just from the necklace, but from the weight of her father's abandonment, from the rules she'd made to survive Jungo, from the fear that had been holding her back for 2 years. The sun was setting over Oakland, painting the sky in shades of amber and gold. Anna was alive, and she was going home with the man she loved. Everything else could wait. The sirens had been the signal to separate. One last look, one squeeze of her hand, and Jungo had disappeared into the shadows before the first federal vehicle breached the perimeter. The FBI arrived at the Oakland warehouse 23 minutes after the necklace came off Anna's throat. By then, Jungo's team had already vanished into the night like smoke, taking Min-jae's unconscious body with them, leaving only Anna's father still tied to his chair, and the wreckage of a family war scattered across concrete floors. Anna sat in the back of an ambulance, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders despite the mild evening, watching federal agents swarm the building. They'd checked her vitals, scanned her throat where the necklace had been, asked questions she'd answered with careful precision. Yes, she'd been held hostage. No, she didn't know where the kidnappers had gone. Yes, she was willing to testify. All lies, delivered with the same competence she'd used to run Jungo's schedule for 2 years. Her father had been taken away in handcuffs, screaming about immunity deals and witness protection. Anna had watched him go with the same empty feeling she'd had looking at him in that chair. No anger, no grief, just the cold understanding that some debts could never be repaid. "Miss Phillip." Agent Morrison approached, his FBI badge reflecting red and blue lights from emergency vehicles. "We're going to need you to come with us. Protective custody until we can assess the full scope of the threat against you. Anna looked past him to where Jungo stood in the shadows beyond the police perimeter, watching her with dark, unreadable eyes. He was covered in blood, his own and Min Jae's, but he stood like a king surveying conquered territory, unbowed despite his injuries. Their eyes met across 50 feet of crime scene tape and jurisdictional chaos. He'd saved her life. She'd saved his. They were even now, except they weren't even at all, because Anna had spent 2 years falling in love with a man who lived in a world of violence and strategy, and she wasn't sure she could survive in that world long term. "Miss Phillip?" Morrison prompted. "Yes," Anna said quietly, tearing her gaze away from Jungo. "Protective custody. That's probably wise." She saw Jungo's jaw tighten, saw his hands curl into fists, but he didn't move, didn't try to stop her, didn't argue, because he understood what she was doing. Choosing survival over desire, choosing safety over the dangerous pull between them. The ambulance doors closed, taking her away from the warehouse, from Oakland, from the man who'd kept her awake through a night of confessions and desperate touches. Anna touched her bare throat, feeling the absence of weight, feeling free and unmoored in equal measure. 3 weeks passed. Anna lived in a safe house in Marin County. White walls and no personality. FBI agents rotating shifts outside her door. They debriefed her daily, building a case against the Sok crime family, asking questions about Jungo's businesses and operations that she answered with selective truth. Yes, she'd been his assistant. No, she hadn't known about his family connections. Yes, she'd noticed irregularities. No, she hadn't suspected what they meant. More lies, because the truth was too complicated. That she'd known exactly who Jungo was and had chosen to stay anyway. That she'd fallen in love with the Silent King despite understanding what his hands had done. That she'd weaponized her own father's betrayal to save the man who'd weaponized her heart. The agents believed her performance. They saw what they expected. A competent assistant who'd been an innocent victim, traumatized by her brush with the criminal underworld, eager to cooperate and move on with her life. They didn't see the way she counted days like she'd once counted down the necklace timer. 21 days since Oakland. 21 days since she'd seen Jungo's face, heard his voice, felt his touch. 21 days of slowly dying from the inside out. Grief for a man who was alive but might as well be dead for all the access she had to him. Anna stood at the window of her safe house, watching fog roll in from the bay, thinking about the warehouse and the way Jungo had looked at her before the ambulance doors closed. Like he was letting her go. Like he understood she needed distance to figure out if she could survive loving him. The door behind her opened without warning. Anna spun, expecting Agent Morrison with his daily debriefing schedule. Instead, she found Yuna standing in the doorway, dressed in designer black, looking like she'd walked through federal security like it didn't exist. "You need to come with me," Yuna said without preamble. Anna's heart kicked against her ribs. "Where?" "Somewhere you've needed to be for 3 weeks." Yuna's expression was unreadable. "He's been patient, Miss Phillip. More patient than I've ever seen him, but patience has limits, and you've reached his. The FBI aren't actually watching you that closely anymore. The case against the Sok family collapsed 2 weeks ago. Lack of evidence, witnesses recanting, your father suddenly developing amnesia about everything useful." Yuna's lips curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. "Jungo may not run the empire anymore, but he still has enough reach to protect what's his." "I'm not his," Anna said automatically. "Aren't you?" Yuna moved into the room. "You've been sitting in this sterile box for 3 weeks, barely eating, barely sleeping, mourning a man who's alive but separated from you by your own choice. That sounds like belonging to me." Anna felt tears burn behind her eyes. "I needed time. I needed to figure out if I could survive in his world. And have you figured it out?" She thought about the question. Thought about 46 hours with a death sentence on her throat. About Jungo keeping her awake with confessions and touches. About choosing to walk into a warehouse with a gun in her hand because she refused to let him face danger alone. "I don't know if I can survive in his world," Anna admitted. "But I know I can't survive without him in mine." Yuna nodded once, sharp and satisfied. "Then let's go. He's been waiting long enough." The drive took 40 minutes. Winding through San Francisco streets Anna recognized, past the gleaming spire of Sok Tower, a monument to the life Jungo was leaving behind. They pulled into an underground parking garage, descended 3 levels below ground, parked in a space marked private. "Where are we?" Anna asked. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere real." Yuna led her to an elevator that required both a keycard and a fingerprint scan. "Jungo bought this building 6 years ago. Only 5 people know about this apartment. You're about to be the 6th. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse that took Anna's breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the bay, the Golden Gate Bridge visible through fog in the distance. The space was decorated in blacks and grays, modern and masculine, but warmer than Jungo's Pacific Heights fortress had been. And standing at the windows, backlit by city lights, was Jungo himself. He looked different than she remembered. Thinner, harder, with new scars visible on his hands and neck. He was dressed in simple black clothing, no suit, no tactical gear, just a man standing in his private space looking at a city he used to rule. He turned when the elevator opened, and Anna saw his face clearly for the first time in 3 weeks. Exhaustion, longing, desperate hope barely contained behind careful control. Anna. Just her name, but it sounded like a prayer. Yuna slipped back into the elevator without a word, the doors closing behind her, leaving them alone. Anna stood frozen, drinking in the sight of him, cataloging changes, the scar above his left eyebrow, the way he held himself, like his ribs still hurt, the way his hands trembled slightly before he curled them into fists. "You look terrible," she said finally. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "You look like you haven't been sleeping." "I haven't." Anna moved into the space, each step feeling monumental. "Every time I close my eyes, I see that warehouse, see you on your knees with a gun to your head, see myself choosing to walk away afterward. You needed space." Jungo's voice was carefully neutral. "I understood that. Did you?" She stopped a few feet away from him, close enough to touch but not touching. "Because I've spent 3 weeks wondering if you were relieved I left. If it was easier for you, without me complicating your life." Something flashed in his eyes. Pain, raw, and unfiltered. "Easier? Anna. These 3 weeks have been hell. Watching you through surveillance, seeing you fade, knowing you were choosing to be away from me, and respecting that choice, even though it was killing me. You've been watching me? Every day. No shame in his admission. Every moment the FBI wasn't actively in the room with you. I had cameras on you, making sure you were safe. Making sure you were eating, sleeping, surviving." His jaw tightened. "Making sure I hadn't destroyed you by dragging you into my world." Anna felt something crack in her chest. "I walked away because I was scared. Not of you. Of how much I wanted to stay. Of how much I was willing to sacrifice to be with you." "What were you willing to sacrifice?" The question came out rough. "Everything." The admission felt like jumping off a cliff. "Normal. Safe. The life I was supposed to want. I was willing to give up all of it for you. And that terrified me because I'd spent my whole life building walls to protect myself from abandonment." Jungo closed the distance between them in 2 strides, his hands coming up to frame her face with a gentleness that made her breath catch. "I would never abandon you. I would burn my empire to the ground before I let you go." "You already did," Anna said softly. "Yuna told me the case collapsed, that witnesses recanted. You dismantled your own territory to protect me. It was never mine." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "The empire, the territory, all of it. It was survival, necessity. You're the only thing I've ever wanted just for the sake of wanting." Anna felt tears spill over, running down her face, dampening his hands. "I spent 3 weeks trying to convince myself I could live without you, trying to be rational about the danger, about the life you lead. And?" His voice was barely a whisper. "And I can't." She grabbed his shirt, pulling him closer. "I can't live without you. Can't breathe properly without you. Can't sleep because you're not there keeping me awake with stories and confessions. I choose you, Jungo. I choose the danger and the violence and the complicated life, because the alternative is dying slowly from missing you." He kissed her like a drowning man finding air, desperate and consuming. Anna kissed him back with 3 weeks of longing and grief and desperate relief, tasting salt from her tears and something that might have been his own. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jungo pressed his forehead to hers. "I have something for you," he said roughly. "Something I should have given you before the necklace, before the warehouse, before I let you walk away." He reached into his pocket and produced a small black box. Anna's heart stuttered as he opened it, revealing not diamonds or gold, but a simple platinum band etched with tiny characters she recognized as Korean. "What does it say?" she asked. "No locks, just promises." Jungo took the ring from the box. "It means you're free to leave whenever you want, free to choose a different life. But if you stay, if you choose me, it's because you want to, not because you're trapped." Anna looked at the ring, at the man holding it, at the future she'd been running from for 3 weeks. "Put it on," she said quietly. Jungo's hands shook as he slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, the metal warm against her skin, so different from the cold diamonds that had counted down her mortality. "I love you," he said. "I should have said it in the warehouse, in the bunker, every day, for 2 years. But I love you, Anna Phillip, enough to let you go. Enough to dismantle an empire to keep you safe. Enough to wait 3 weeks hoping you'd come back. I love you too." Anna pulled him down to her. "And I'm done running, done pretending I want safe and normal. I want you, Jungo, all of you. The violence and the scars and the dangerous world you live in. Then stay." His arms wrapped around her, holding her like he could fuse them together through sheer force of will. "Stay with me, build something new. Figure out who we are without death hanging over us." "Yes," Anna whispered against his throat. Yes to all of it. They stood like that for a long moment. 2 broken people holding each other together, choosing each other despite all the logical reasons not to. Finally, Jungo pulled back enough to look at her. "I have a plan, if you're interested. Always interested in your plans." His lips curved in that rare, genuine smile that still made her heart skip. 6 months from now, Paris. A fresh start where the Sok name means nothing, and we're just 2 people trying to be normal. "We'll never be normal," Anna said. "Then we'll be extraordinarily abnormal together." He kissed her forehead. "What do you say?" Anna thought about it, about freedom, about starting over, about building a future on foundations of choice rather than necessity. "Paris," she agreed. 6 months. "And Jungo?" "Yes? Don't make me wait that long to take me to bed. I've been awake for 3 weeks missing you." Heat flared in his eyes, dark and promising. "Then let me remedy that." He lifted her easily despite his healing injuries, carrying her toward a bedroom she hadn't seen yet, toward a future they'd build together one choice at a time. Behind them, San Francisco glittered through floor-to-ceiling windows. The city they'd bled for, the empire Jungo had dismantled, the past they were choosing to leave behind. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, they had each other, and that was enough. 6 months later, Paris welcomed them with rain and gray skies that reminded Anna of San Francisco fog. They'd arrived 3 days ago, checked into a modest apartment in the Marais district, and spent 72 hours doing absolutely nothing important. No empires to run, no enemies to fight, no death sentences counting down. Just 2 people learning how to be boring together. Anna stood on their small balcony, watching rain fall on cobblestone streets, wearing one of Jungo's shirts and nothing else, drinking coffee that was too strong and too perfect. Behind her, she could hear him moving through the apartment, the shower running, the sound of him getting ready for the day. They had plans, small plans, tourist plans. The Louvre this morning, lunch at some cafe Yuna had recommended, an evening walk along the Seine if the rain stopped. Normal plans for normal people, except they would never be normal. And Anna had made peace with that. The shower shut off. Minutes later, Jungo joined her on the balcony, dressed in jeans and a simple black sweater, his hair still damp, looking nothing like the Silent King, and everything like the man she'd fallen in love with. "You're going to freeze," he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind, sharing his warmth. "I'm from New York. This is nothing," but she leaned back into him anyway, feeling solid and safe and real. "Liar. You're shivering. Then warm me up." His lips found the curve of her neck, and Anna felt heat flood through her that had nothing to do with temperature. 6 months of this, of learning each other without death hanging over them, of building intimacy in the spaces between danger, of choosing each other every morning without obligation or strategy. "I have something for you," Jungo murmured against her skin. Anna smiled. "You've already given me Paris. This is different." He released her long enough to pull a small envelope from his pocket. "Open it." Anna turned to face him, studying the envelope. It was plain white, no markings, sealed with wax that bore the impression of a dragon. The Sok family seal. "What is this?" she asked carefully. "Open it," he repeated. She broke the seal, pulled out a single piece of paper. Legal documents, dense with text she had to read twice to understand. "Is this—" Her voice caught. "Jungo, is this what I think it is?" "Abdication papers." His dark eyes watched her carefully. "Signed by every remaining member of the Sok family council. I'm officially exiled. No territory, no claim, no right to return to San Francisco or involve myself in family business ever again." Anna stared at the document, feeling the weight of it. "You gave up everything. I gave up nothing that mattered." He took the paper from her hands, set it aside, and pulled her close. "The empire was my father's dream, then my burden. It was never mine by choice. You are my choice, Anna. Every day, every moment. Paris is my choice. This life is my choice. What about Min Jae?" They hadn't spoken his name in months, hadn't mentioned the brother who'd tried to kill them both. Exiled to Thailand under watch. If he tries to leave, if he tries to contact anyone in the family, the authorities there have been paid to make his life very difficult. Jungo's expression was cold. "He's alive because you asked me not to kill him. He's forgotten because he's not worth remembering." Anna touched his face, feeling the scars there, the evidence of violence that would always be part of him. "No regrets? About leaving?" "None." He caught her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm. "About dragging you into that world in the first place? Every day, but you're here. So I'm choosing to see it as fate, rather than mistake. Very romantic." "I'm working on it." His lips curved. "Yuna says I need to read more poetry, be more expressive. Yuna has opinions about our relationship. Yuna has opinions about everything." Jungo guided Anna back inside, away from the rain and cold. "She's in Tokyo now, consulting for a pharmaceutical company. Legitimate work, she claims, though I have my doubts. And Kenji? Still in San Francisco, still running tech security for what's left of the business. We talk once a week. He asks about you every time." Jungo pulled her down onto the couch, arranging her in his lap with casual possession. "Everyone asks about you. Wants to know if you're happy, if you're safe, if I'm treating you right." Anna felt warmth bloom in her chest. "And what do you tell them? That you're terrifying and stubborn and probably too good for me, but somehow I convinced you to stay anyway." He touched the ring on her finger, the platinum band she'd worn for 6 months, never removing it even to shower. "That I'm the luckiest bastard in Paris. Flattery will get you everywhere. I'm counting on it." His hand slid under the shirt she was wearing, his shirt, his palm warm against her skin. "We have 2 hours before we need to leave for the Louvre." 2 hours, Anna repeated, feeling heat build between them. "Whatever will we do with that time?" Jungo answered by kissing her, slow and deep and full of promise. Anna kissed him back, tasting coffee and 6 months of learning how to love without fear, how to touch without counting minutes, how to build a future from the ashes of the past. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jungo rested his forehead against hers. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For choosing me. For staying. For walking into that warehouse 6 months ago instead of running away." His hand found hers, their fingers interlacing. "For seeing the man underneath the king and deciding he was worth keeping." Anna thought about the woman she'd been 2 years ago, walking into Sok Tech with a taped-together portfolio and desperate ambition. She'd been so careful then, so controlled, building walls around her heart to protect herself from abandonment. She thought about the woman she'd become, someone who'd worn death around her throat and survived, who'd weaponized her own father's betrayal, who'd walked into danger because the man she loved was worth more than safety. "You were always worth keeping," she said finally. "I just needed to become brave enough to admit it. You've always been brave." Jungo's thumb traced circles on her hip. "You just didn't know it yet." They stayed like that for a while, wrapped around each other on a couch in Paris, rain falling outside. The whole day stretched ahead of them with no urgent business, no emergencies, nothing but time and choice, and the promise of tomorrow. Eventually they got dressed, wandered to the Louvre, got lost in galleries full of art and history, had lunch at a cafe where no one knew their names or their history. Walked along the Seine as evening fell and the rain finally stopped. Normal things, boring things, the best things. That night, back in their apartment, Anna stood at the window watching Paris come alive with lights. Jungo joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder. Happy? He asked quietly. Anna thought about the question. Thought about everything they'd survived to get here. The necklace, the warehouse, the 3 weeks of separation, the choice to build something new. Yes, she said simply. I'm happy. Good. He pressed a kiss to her temple. Because I have another surprise for you, Anna groaned. More surprises? Jungo, you've already given me Paris and freedom and a life I never knew I wanted. This one's small. He pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. I've been taking French lessons. Secretly. For 3 months. Anna turned in his arms to look at him. Why secretly? Because I wanted to surprise you, wanted to be able to do this. He unfolded the paper, cleared his throat, and began to read in careful, accented French. Anna didn't speak French fluently, but she caught enough words to understand. Love, forever, choice, promise. A poem he'd written himself, stumbling over pronunciation but meaning every syllable. When he finished, she was crying. Was it that bad? He asked, concerned. It was perfect. Anna pulled him down to her, kissing him through tears and laughter. You learned French for me. I'd learn every language in the world if it meant I could tell you I love you in ways you haven't heard before. He wiped her tears with gentle thumbs. Je t'aime, Anna. More than empires, more than territory, more than anything. Je t'aime aussi. Anna whispered back, butchering the pronunciation but not caring. More than safety. More than normal. More than anything. They stood like that at the window, holding each other, watching Paris sparkle below them like a promise kept. 6 months ago, Anna had walked away from a warehouse wearing a death sentence around her throat, choosing survival over desire. Tonight, she was choosing both. Tomorrow they'd wake up and choose each other again, and the day after that, and every day that followed, building a life from small choices and quiet moments and the extraordinary gift of being alive together. The silent king was dead, his empire scattered, his name becoming legend. But Jungo was alive, and Anna was with him, and that was the only story that mattered anymore. If this story of obsession, survival, and dark romance that transforms into healing love had you holding your breath, make sure to like and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story in our collection. What would you do for the person you love? Give up everything, or fight to keep them? Let me know in the comments below, and tell me where in the world you're listening from. Until next time, family. Choose the dangerous love. Choose the one worth fighting for. Choose yourself.